I'd like to thank Mr. Rippon, who's here as well, to answer any questions on the budget. We have our first big book of our proposed budget. I do have a brief presentation, but my computer's not cooperating just yet, so I can bring that up as soon as I restart. But just a quick overview, we have our proposed budget, which is has everything here included. So the total budget is $93,222,125, and this includes the money that will move into ESSER, so the next iteration of the budget will back out some of those things. As you may recall, some of the things that we back out are the reading teachers, the virtual school budget we pay for out of ESSER, and then we'll move more supplies and equipment into the budget for next year. In ESSER 3 for this current school year, FY23, we have about 60 positions, including a number of paras that are in the budget. When I bring forth the next ESSER budget, it'll only have about 15 positions in there. So we're reducing that from 60 to 15, and everything else will be baked in. The paras and everything will be in the appropriated budget, just so that we're planning appropriately as we come off of ESSER, that we, are being fiscally responsible. So the purpose of tonight's meeting is really to go through at each location, answer any questions that the committee has, help identify those areas where we can, move to ESSER, and then as we come off, as I mentioned in the previous budget presentation, we started off 3 years ago using $4 million in ESSER, then we used $3.5 million, and this year we're intending on using about 2.5. So we're fading off of ESSER, and now we're moving more towards having everything in the appropriated budget and in the grants that we get, so that we won't see that fiscal cliff. So at this point, I am happy to open it up to questions. I know we can go item by item. The binders that we've provided for the committee, hopefully you've had some time, about a week, to look at those, and we can certainly make adjustments as we go.
Thank you, Dr. Vidala. And I just wanted to add a few things to what Dr. Vidala spoke about. Certainly another tough budget year. We've had a number of meetings to kind of go over some numbers, both on the city end and on the school end. The number that we've been working on, I think, continues to move us forward and continues to provide, I believe, the resources and everything that's necessary to continue the momentum I think we've developed over the last few years since COVID. Big issues this year. Health insurance went up 8% this year. That was a pretty crushing blow. That's a significant increase over the last couple of years, and that had to be accounted for. Also, our retirement went up significantly. Now, a lot of our on the education side, a lot of those teachers are under a different retirement system, but there are a number of positions that are under a retirement system, and that went up significantly, as well as our debt service has gone up also. So we are going to spend some time, obviously, reviewing our school budget together, asking questions and trying to move things forward. I really don't have much wiggle room, but I think the number that we've put forth really kind of meets our needs. And again, I didn't want us to take a step back after some really positive steps that we have a group and we as a district have made over the last few years in particular, and I didn't want to take a step back from that. So I think the number is going to meet our needs. Dr. Vidala and his team were certainly pushing for more, and but we were able to reach a compromise that I think works for us, and certainly be able to answer questions as we move forward. We do have a couple of dates set up right now with the City Council. That would be Thursday, June 15th, and Tuesday, June 20th. I think the plan right now is to do the city side first on the 15th, and then the school side and final vote, if everything goes well, would be on the 20th. So please mark those dates down, and I think the path we can take here will certainly meet our requirements in terms of our public meeting and getting the information over to the council. So we'll take it from there, certainly ready to schedule further meetings over the next couple of weeks to make sure we meet our goal. But there were some costs that are significant, as everybody knows, in terms of construction and materials, and that has just really escalated over the last year. It's really put a lot of pressure on cities and towns and school districts in terms of infrastructure work, because the cost of materials and cost of construction has gone up significantly, and also we're still experiencing, even though it's better, definitely is better, but we're still experiencing some delays in delivery. That's still a factor that we're dealing with. So we're trying to take care of projects as best we can. We're bringing forward a couple of items to the City Council in the second May meeting, which will be May 25th, which will be about $200,000, a little under $200,000 for some work at the high school to the, Dr. Vidala, what is that specific? It's the
We're working
HVAC.
on the chillers, so it's the HVAC system. So we're replacing a chiller at the high school as well as one at the on the roof at the Carroll School. And so overall, that's close to $1 million. We did get an $800,000 grant. It's called the IVAC grant from the state. So the City Council will be voting to appropriate the difference, which is about $150,000.
Yep. And also included in that request to the council is approximately $500,000 for some center school work that we think we can get a head start on this summer in preparation for the upcoming school year that will lessen the work that's going to be necessary for that school year when that we're working on now to relocate the center. So that is going to be on for May 25th, and I'll keep everybody updated once that's confirmed. But I'm excited about that to move those two projects forward. So, but the costs there have gone up considerably, you know, as the Welch School and some other projects that we're looking at have gone up. That's just the reality of the situation right now, but it's certainly put more pressure on all of us, and that then falls back into our budgets. But I do believe the number that we've been working off of and the increases we have made are going to meet our needs. And like I said, I'm repeating myself, but I didn't want us as a group to take a step back. So happy to answer any questions about the city side, about some of the upcoming projects as we go through the budget. Any questions for Dr. Vidala at this point? Thank you, Mr. Olympio.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, Dr. Vidala, thank you for putting together the book. I appreciate it. I've gone through some of it, not all of it. I want to probably take another weekend or so to go through some other things. But in general, I noticed special education, the Brown School, there was some reductions in staff. I imagine that is going to the Burke School, is that correct? That's
So you'll see the reductions there, you'll see the increases.
okay, so that's what it appeared to be. And then just in general, though, over the past couple of years, I've had, you know, paras reach out to me within special education at the Brown and at the McCarthy, and they're always looking for more help. I didn't see really a lot of increases to that area, especially at the McCarthy and the preschool area. Do you feel that we have adequate staff there?
Sorry about that. All right, I'm just logging in.
Yeah.
Yes, so we are working right now, and actually Dr. Higgins is taking the lead on some of this work with Ms. Crumpton, and we're really looking to identify where we can provide the most support. And so where a lot of that will come is at the middle and high school, we're moving more towards a co-teaching model. And so you'll see that there's a number of teachers that are being added to those areas, which then they'll be able to fill in where some of the special ed paras have been supporting general ed classrooms, and those positions will be able to be reallocated to our elementary programs and our preschool programs. So we do anticipate that there will be some shifting before the end of the school year. We'll do it within the current budget, but we will be able to provide more assistance. So we will be looking to provide more assistance at both the elementary level for our special programs and for our integrated preschool.
Okay, so really it would be obviously a budget neutral type of thing. You'll be reallocating resources from other schools and
Correct.
and
Yeah, but it'll be
classrooms.
budget neutral, all within the current budget.
Okay.
And we'll be looking, you know, to try to prioritize the full-time paraprofessionals at those programs with the highest need.
And I haven't looked at any job postings lately, but are we advertising for full-time paras?
At this time, we're not. What we're doing is identifying where we have the openings, and we want to make sure that we fill those openings with the full-time positions before we post anything.
Okay, but would you anticipate, if we can't fill within, to reach out to, I mean, it's a theme every budget season that I have people reaching out to me, because the children, the students are becoming more challenging. They run, and I'm just afraid for safety issues that, we need to be conscious of that. And I just want to make sure that certainly full-time positions are a lot more attractive to the outside than part-time. And I would rather, I'd rather have like 2 full-time than, say, 4 part-times. I know that comes with a little bit of an extra cost, but to keep people, keep quality people, to me, that's more important than just kind of getting some fill-ins.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that, we're looking at this holistically as well, and we want to make sure that we're continuing to add guidance counselors, social workers, special ed teachers, reading interventionists. We want to make sure our nursing staffing is there. So it's really, I think of it as it takes village. And so we want to make sure that across the board, our staffing is appropriate. We have really seen an increase in the need for support at the elementary level, and I think we'll continue to make sure we staff that appropriately. And I think, our elementary schools are really doing a good job of providing those services.
Okay, thank you. I'll yield for now.
Thank you, Mr. Olympio. Mr. Hockman?
Okay. Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Sam. Thank you, Dr. Vidala, for providing us with the budget and in the books with the backup and all this stuff. I just have some preliminary questions also, because I haven't really had a chance to dissect all of it. If we can just go to tab 2 at the Burke School. Are we? It seems like we're adding an assistant principal.
So it's just reallocation.
Yeah.
Last year, that position was in the general ed teacher line. So we moved it, so we've moved the teacher up, the assistant principal up to the admin line. In every other elementary school, you'll see a reduction, but here at the Burke, we're recommending adding a 3rd teacher in 5th grade for next year, which would be budget neutral for them because they're reducing a special ed teacher. So you'll see the 52 students, 26 in a class is very large. We'd like to bring that to 3 to try to reduce the class size. And they're doing that by, they're adding 4 milestones teachers. So instead of going from 8 FTEs, this is line 2009, to 12, you'll see that's only going down to 11. So it's up 3, but they're getting 4 people from the Burke, from the Brown. So that 1 FTE is being moved to the 5th grade. So the net increase is they're seeing four people coming over, and the net increase that they're seeing is 3 special educators and 1 general educator. Correct. She's not the grade 4 teacher.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. And then I'm noticing teacher fellows for each, at least of the elementary schools. Is that
Yes. So that is something that we've had since 2021. And it's always been funded out of ESSER. It's a partnership that we have with Endicott and Merrimack, and so they're college students that do a full year of residency with us as their student teaching, and we pay their tuition. So that line is their tuition, and it's been funded out of ESSER. That's also something that will move into ESSER again. It'll come out of all the budgets, and so it's a full-time student teacher. We pay a semester's worth of tuition for them. And we have that partnership with the colleges. And then if they work out, then they turn into first-year teachers the following year.
so the teacher fellows are undergraduates who don't have a bachelor's degree yet?
Some of them are master's students that do, some of them are licensed teachers. There'd be a master's student that is in a full-time program. Some of them are certified teachers, and we're getting them for one semester's worth of tuition.
And the compensation that we're seeing in the budget goes directly to the institution, not to the person.
Correct.
And just as, I don't want to take too much more time, no one else will talk, but just as an aside, and maybe we take this up, it's not a budget issue, or maybe it is, I don't know. We take it up at another school committee meeting, and if I can ask to put it on the agenda, I'm looking at the first page of our budget, and I see the profile for the school district, and I see a graduation rate of 86.2, which doesn't make me very happy. And if we could put that on the agenda for another meeting, so that we can have a conversation. Yeah, so what I was talking about, I'm sorry, there's no microphone. It's the first. Okay, so I'm going to start all over. No, the last thing that I was talking about is not necessarily a budget issue, although it may be related to the budget. The graduation rate as identified for our school district is listed at 86.2%, which is a number that doesn't make me all that warm and fuzzy. I have microphone. I don't know. Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Chase. I don't know. Anyway, so if we can put that on an agenda for another meeting and have a conversation about that, I'd appreciate it. And for now, oh, and one other last thing for the budget, and I really didn't have a chance to go through it all. I know we've been talking about facilities, and one of the things that we've been talking about is the, I'll call it the pilot program that's been going on for 6, 7, 8, 9 years. I don't know how long it's going on, which which I think deserves to have a fresh look at it in terms of where, custodians and tradespeople and people like that fall in terms of budget, and maybe the look isn't budgetary. Maybe the look is is in some sort of chart for who oversees certain people within the school, within the city/school department that perform those types of services. So I don't know if it's in there. Like I said, I didn't get that deep into the budget, but if it's something maybe at some point you can address to us and we could talk about.
Test.
Thank you,
1,
Mr.
2.
Hockman. Okay. Any other comments, questions at this time? Mrs. Carpenter?
Thank you. Oh, yep, no, I'm on. I think I'm on, right? Yeah. I just had a couple of questions. I haven't, of course, been able to go through the entire book like some of my colleagues. There's a lot to digest. In central office, I just had a couple of questions about a few different line items. One of the first ones is the school committee salary. Did we get a raise? And we didn't realize it. It's up 17.6%.
Yes, wasn't that voted
We
last
did,
year?
right? We got
That
it.
was voted last year.
Okay. And then,
So that 17.6, I believe, is probably over 2 years, right? It's, I mean, it's a very modest increase when you give the overall number.
because it comes out, we do? It went to 6?
It was 5,100 and it was voted to 6,000.
Okay. A little bit further down, where is the early childhood director? I see it's zeros all the way across, and then, where would I find that?
Yes, so in order to be sustainable, that will be paid out of the revolving account for early childhood. So the early childhood director will continue to be employed. However, budget-wise, to make sure that we're sustainable moving forward, it will be funded through the tuition that we take in. So it is a budget-neutral position.
Okay. And then I had, Just one second, I'm trying to line up my papers. I think the next question I had was under employee physicals. Whose physicals do we pay for?
I believe it's transportation, I don't know if it's still, we don't have custodial there. More CAF workers, AFSCME employees, there's a physical requirement that we do fund.
Okay, I thought that's what it was. And then there was another difference I wanted to check. I think it's under contracted services business office. That had like a 217% increase. What's that one?
Together, I think. We do contract for some grants management embedded in there. Also, what's embedded, the end-of-year report audit fee is under there as well.
Yeah. And I think we combined some of these line items that were paid out of different lines, and we corrected so they're paid under the right chart of account. So I don't think that it's a huge increase in what we're actually paying in the overall budget, but I think we're moving things to the right accounts. Some of these things were picked off a little bit here, a little bit there, but in the backup, you'll see that there's a number of contracts that were consolidated because this is the appropriate place to pay. So a number of grant managers and a number of, different, like the audits that we have, because we have so many grants going on now, that we have to pay, I think it's,
It would help if I look at the detail behind, but yeah.
yeah,
those are
there's a
some
few
of the-
detail, and we could probably get a little bit more specific with some of that for the next iteration of this.
So for the contracted services under administration, and then the line right underneath it under services for business office with the increases, they're in the back?
Yes.
Oh, end of year audit, okay.
It was reclassed down to the business office because that's under the business office.
So that was 5,000. Consulting services,
And the
end of
report,
year,
Same thing.
8,000. Arbitration, 7, okay.
Yeah, and you'll notice things like nursing supplies and Hunt's Photo and things like that were paid out of this line for whatever reason. We moved them to the appropriate line and moved the appropriate items in this. So it seems like a large increase, but it's really just lining up the correct chart of account so that our end-of-year report doesn't have the audit findings.
Okay, yeah, I'm starting to see them and understand. I see the Hunt's Photo, okay, nursing supplies. Thank you, I'm going to yield for now.
Thank you, Mrs. Carpenter. Mr. Amico?
Thank you. Through the chair, I just wanted to thank you, Dr. Vidala, and your team for putting together this budget. Like my colleagues, I've been through it, but not as much as I really wanted to, so I'll probably need a little bit more time. I did have a couple of questions. Actually, I wanted to start off, I always say this every budget year, and I truly mean this. I think the city this is a great bargain, $36,000 for my 5 colleagues and me, the work that my colleagues do, all the hard work, all the dedication, and it just feels good to be part of a group that really cares about students and teachers and our staff and this city. So I know you mentioned our salaries, but I just think this is an incredibly professional organization, and I'm proud to be part of it. So I'll start off with that. Dr. Vidala, how many retirees do we have? Do we have a number yet, or are we getting there, or will it?
We have a
fluid?
list.
We do have.
I don't know the number off the top of my head. I know we were working with it together, and I was anticipating this. We made the list. I didn't count the number, but we do have a list that I can share because I know that you have an interest in bringing them in June and doing a little recognition. So we are working on that. I don't have a specific number.
Thank you. I appreciate that. The other reason why I asked as well is, and I know it's a tough budget year and things are tough, but it's been tough on our kids, and I think we need to make sure that our teachers and our educators have everything in their toolbox for our kids. And one of the things that I'll certainly be pushing for is more safety in mental health programs and mental health professionals, whether it's Peabody or any city in the Commonwealth. Not only is there an achievement gap going on right now, but a lot of our kids have been through a lot over the last, personally, I think over the last 5 years, education has changed more than it has in the previous 20. Between technology, between the terrible events of the pandemic, food insecurity, poverty, and so on and so on. My other reason for asking about the retirees is if there's any money at the end that we really think about safety and mental health, because I think we're going to need it. And from there, I think I'm all set for now, but I'll
And to your point, I know that this has been mentioned a number of times as a concern at the high school. You'll notice under the building access attendant line, there's 2 additional positions to address some of the concerns with coverage for bathrooms and things like that. So that is something that is already in this budget that we identified as a priority. So that's under the very last line under salaries for building access attendants. You'll see an increase there as well.
And again, thank you through the chair, and this is nothing against us is what we're doing. It's just I want to be more proactive than we already are. I think this board has shown itself to be one of the better ones in the state as far as I'm concerned, and the reason why is we look ahead and we plan, and I think planning and looking ahead is the key to success, and I obviously, like I said, safety and mental health is certainly a big issue with me, so thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Amico. Any other questions, Mrs. Dunn?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is a question regarding the special education section under tab 17. I actually think I figured this out. I am actually going to have to ask for additional pages. I'm missing pages in mine. So I'll get in touch with Mr. Rippon. That was the only question that I had at the moment. Pardon me?
I'll be happy to get you what you need, just let me know.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, it's the backup pages.
For special education?
Yes, yeah.
Okay, thank you, Mrs.
Ms. Dunn, I can give you mine since I have everything electronically, just so that you can get some tonight. I'll give you
thank you.
what's in my book.
Thanks. And actually, if you can send the budget to us electronically, that would be great, too.
Sure.
Thanks. Thanks, Kelly.
All right, any further questions? Mr. Hockman?
Since we have a few more minutes, Mr. Swanson, if you're okay. Thank you. Just as I'm kind of spending some time looking at the budget in a little more detail, tab 29, which is our technology budget, line 29,007, I'm looking at the backup for that, and it's a whole host of CB leases.
Those are our Chromebook leases.
Those are Chromebook leases?
Yeah, from, was it CDW?
Yeah.
That's the company. So those are all the Chromebook leases. A lot of that stuff we've been paying out of ESSER, so I put it in here, and then things that we can grant fund will back out. But I do want, now that we're K-12 one-to-one laptops, we're going to see a number of those leases. So it is a big cost, but there is value there.
Yeah, no, certainly, if I may, through the mayor. So the 583,000 change that we're seeing in the FY24 budget was an approximately equivalent expense for FY23. It just came from different funding sources.
Correct. And that could be something that we identify to pay out of ESSER one more time, as a capital type expense, when we start to back the things out. But this is something that we've been anticipating and that we've been paying for the past 3 years.
Okay. And in tab 46, which is our Peabody Personalized Remote Education Program, were the salaries for the administrator and the teachers paid out of grant funding before?
Yes, 100% of that is paid out of ESSER. We'll back that out again and pay it out of ESSER for one more year. But so that's why you see the zeros, but in the first iteration of the budget, it's always in, and then we slide it over, and we have our ESSER funding.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hockman. There's no other, Mr. Swanson, I'll turn it to you.
Thank you. First off, Dr. Vidal and your staff, thank you very much for putting this together. It's second year I've looked at this, and it's mind-blowing. It's just a lot of data, and I appreciate that. And I appreciate my colleagues as well, that over the last few years have given me guidance on how to look at this behemoth of a budget and all the lines here. On tab number 20, transportation, obviously as part of our safety and whatnot, safety committees, and you have a reduction in crossing guards. Is there a particular area that's being reduced, school or area of the city?
I believe it's just a reallocation of what we've done. So I know we've had different things budgeted, and we work very closely with Jim Harkins and the police department around where to allocate people and where to put them. So this is what we currently have, is these 20 people, and so the 20 positions is just carried over. We're cleaning up if there are not people that were hired. But I don't believe that there are any places in the city that they're looking to add. If there were, we would be definitely budgeting it. We're not looking to cut anybody.
Appreciate that. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Swanson. If there's no other questions at this time, I would propose that we recess the meeting, and I would propose next Tuesday, we start at 6 p.m., probably for a pretty healthy session at that time, if that works for everybody. Try to keep our Tuesdays going. So I would propose we recess today until next Tuesday, 6 p.m. Is that agreeable? Does that work for everybody?
And Mr. Mayor, if it's okay with everybody, I'll bring a draft of the ESSER budget so that we can see what would be the voted budget in the ESSER budget, just so that we're progressing forward. Everything here would be contained in there, and we'll just split it out so that we have those two things, just in the interest of moving everything forward. And so that we have a proposed budget that would be the voted number that we would be adjusting until we get to the city council vote.
Thank you, Dr. Vidal. Yes, Mr. Swanson?
Quickly, through you, Dr. Vidal, could you, I'm not going to be available next Tuesday, but could you send that out electronically so I have that? Thank you.
Okay, so entertain a motion to recess until Tuesday, May 16th at 6 p.m. Thank you, Mrs. Dunn. Seconded by Mr. Amico. All in favor, that's a vote. We'll take a 1-minute break, and then we're going to start our regular meeting. Okay, thank you, everyone. Good evening. I'd like to call the regular school committee meeting to order. Today is May 9th, 2023, and we are starting our meeting tonight at 7:03 p.m. Our meeting is being broadcast live by PAT, and our minutes are being taken by our recording secretary, Marge Marcarelli, is here today. And we have a full committee, full administration team, and some ground to cover tonight. So I'd like to start out the meeting, if we could, if everybody could please stand for a moment of silence, and then we will go to the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. We do have minutes from the April 25th, 2023 regular school committee meeting. I'd open those up for discussion and/or a vote.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Hockman. You've heard the motion to approve the minutes of April 25th, 2023, our regular school committee meeting, seconded by Mrs. Carpenter. Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Swanson?
Yes.
Mr. Olympio?
Yes.
Mr. Hoffman?
Yes.
Mrs. Carpenter?
Yes.
Mr. Amico?
Yes.
Mrs. Dunn?
Yes.
Thank you. Next, we'll go to approval of bills. We do have 2 warrants. Mr. Olympio, I'll turn it over to you.
I'd like to make a motion to approve warrant number 5351 in the amount of $805,719.92, dated May 9th, 2023, subject to audit.
Thank you. You've heard the motion by Mr. Olympio to approve warrant number 5351, seconded by Mr. Swanson. Roll call vote.
Mr. Swanson?
Yes.
Mr. Olympio?
Yes.
Mr. Hoffman?
Yes.
Mrs. Carpenter?
Yes.
Mr. Amico?
Yes.
Mrs. Dunn?
Yes.
I'd like to make a motion to approve warrant number 5352 in the amount of $2,554,387.87, dated May 9th, 2023, subject to audit.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Olympio. You've heard the motion for approval of warrant number 5352, seconded by Mr. Swanson. Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Swanson?
Yes.
Mr. Olympio?
Yes.
Mr. Hoffman?
Yes.
Mrs. Carpenter?
Yes.
Mr. Amico?
Yes.
Mrs. Dunn?
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Olympio. Next item, continued business. We have 1 item. Mrs. Dunn, any update on the Welch School MSBA project?
We're having our OAC meeting tomorrow, which is our weekly meeting of the owner, the architect, and the construction. And then we're going to have 2 tours for the members of the school building committee, the city council, and the school committee. And that's an exciting moment for all of us so that people can see the product of their work. And the work right now is proceeding so rapidly. It really is amazing to see what's happening on site, because Phase 2A, within a couple of days, they had already removed the ceilings and the floors, and now they're already proceeding with the construction in the left back quadrant of the building. So we're going to be on time. I'm going to knock on wood. We're going to be on time, and that's so important, because with the students coming back into the classrooms, it really is a very tight schedule, and everything's moving along very well. So,
Thank you, Mrs. Dunn. Any questions or comments? Okay, thank you. Next item, superintendent's report. Dr. Vidala, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We just had a great budget meeting, the first of a few that we will have this year. So I'm sure we'll get a little bit of an update there in our subcommittee meetings, subcommittee reports. So I just have a brief 3 items on the superintendent's report for tonight. And the first one is Teacher Appreciation Week. And so I just wanted to give a huge thank you to our teachers. They do an amazing job. Mr. Mayor, you often say that it's very difficult being a teacher or a police officer during these times. It's one of the hardest jobs, and I couldn't agree more. I want to thank all of our teachers for the wonderful job that they do. It's also Nurses Appreciation Week, and I know Sharon Cameron and her team are having a breakfast tomorrow for the nurses. They've done an incredible job. I can't say enough about the work that they've done over the past 3 years, really. They've done a great job as well. And then, of course, our support staff and all of our employees have really risen to the occasion. And I have to give a big thanks to our PTOs. The parent-teacher organizations have really gone above and beyond this week, and they continue to have things planned for our teachers just to recognize the work that they do and brighten up the place a little bit. So as I go through the schools this week, I've seen, a lot of smiling faces, a lot of snacks in teachers' rooms and things like that, but also just a lot of acknowledgement and kids making cards for teachers and just really thanking them. So I'd just like to publicly endorse that and to say thank you for the wonderful work that our teachers do. Okay, and it's that time of year, now that it's May. We do have some great end-of-year events. I'll start with our younger students in June. We have our moving on ceremonies, and so I'll send a calendar. I'll send this, but I'll also send a calendar with the dates to our committee members. So our elementary moving on ceremonies, June 9th at the Brown, June 12th, the Carroll and the South. Different times, we made sure that they don't conflict. Tuesday, June 13th, Center and Burke. And on June 14th, we'll have McCarthy and West. For those of you who are saying, where's the Welch? They don't have any fifth graders, so they have no one moving on this year. They'll all be sticking around, so our third graders will be going to fourth grade next year. Very excited about that. Higgins does their moving on ceremonies by cluster, so they have 5 different moving on ceremonies spread out over 2 days, June 15th and 16th. It's a Thursday and Friday. They always do a wonderful ceremony. May is the month of celebrations and acknowledgments. So the big events that we have, academic awards nights will be May 25th. Our PLA graduation at the North Shore Mall will be on May 26th. Peabody Prep's graduation will be at the Black Box Theater on May 30th. We have our convocation Thursday night, June 1st for our high school. And our class of 2023 commencement ceremonies will be Friday, June 2nd at the stadium at Peabody Veterans Memorial. A couple other events that I wanted to mention. This Thursday and Friday, Stage 1 will be performing The Crucible. They're always unbelievable with their work, and so that is a great opportunity if you can make it Thursday or Friday night. The JROTC award ceremony is Monday the 15th. We have an art show on the 16th, which is next Tuesday. Our spring concert is the 17th, the following day. Our CTE medical assisting program does their pinning ceremony, so if anybody would like to attend that, that's on the 18th, also next week. And then the senior prom is on, I believe that's Wednesday, the 31st. So the kids will have the senior prom, and then the following night is convocation, and the night after that is graduation. So they have a jam-packed week of events during that senior week. So I'll pause here if there are any questions about the end-of-year events. There are a couple other events going on as well that we'll share with you, and we'll put together a calendar, so if there are any events that you would like to attend.
Mr. Swanson.
Thank you. Through to Dr. Vidala. You just shortened my subcommittee speech, by the way. But Sarah, seriously, could you, and you said you sent this out to us, could you send this calendar, and then I know a lot of the schools and organizations send out invites could you send this to us and our other public officials that we honestly want to help celebrate these
Yes,
events?
we'll send it in a calendar form,
Yep.
so you can see it on the days of the week rather than a list. It looks better in this format as a list, but when you look at it in your scheduling,
Yes.
it's better as a calendar.
Could you send that to City Council, our
Yep.
elected officials, our state representatives as well? Just so they have, thank you.
Yeah. Can you
Mr.
send
Hockman.
it as a calendar where we can just drop it in
Into-
Google or, the Google Calendar?
Create it.
We'd have to send invites.
If not, then-
Maybe.
Okay,
We'll try.
thank you.
I don't know that it could be compatible with everybody's
I was only
system.
asking if Brandy was thinking it.
Any other comments or questions on this item? All right, Dr. Vidala.
Excellent. So the last time, we do have several other highlights. I felt like this was a good place just to mention some of the wonderful things that we've been doing. We've completed our Holocaust Symposium. It was really well attended, and we got a lot of great feedback from that. I think the students and the community really got a lot out of it, so we're very excited about that. Today we had our first civics showcase, so I know Mrs. Dunn was there, and Mayor Betancourt, Senator Lovely was there, Representative Walsh, and so the students in the 9th grade civics classes each came up with a project, and they worked on them. They reached out to city officials. You may have been contacted with some of them, and what they were able to do is come down to the Higgins and present it to some of the classes today. So it was really a wonderful showcase. And then a couple other things. We got an ST Math grant to cover ST Math, which is an online program. It's personalized in all of our elementary schools. It's a 3-year grant. So again, thank you to Dr. Chase and her team for that. We also got a digital literacy and computer science grant called Project Lead the Way. It was a grant for Higgins Middle School technology teachers. Dr. Meyer has really been working closely with them, and they're very excited about that. And we also got an evidence-based practices grant, which is a multi-year grant, and so we're beginning that work to improve teaching and learning, and that's $95,000 this year, and then an additional grant funding moving forward. So lots of great things happening here as well. Mr. Mayor, did you want to say anything about the civics? I know you enjoyed some of those presentations.
I did. I thought it was terrific. I was very impressed. I was able to make a couple of them with you. Mr. Dunn was there, Dave Gamache from the City Council, Darryl McCarthy from City Hall, and I think I can speak for everybody that we were very impressed. It was very well researched. The discussion topics, one was a new high school, and certainly there was a very compelling argument for that was made by the students, but also issues of recycling, providing some more opportunities, after-school program and tutoring for ELL students. A number of important topics were discussed, and the research was done very well, presented well, and very excited about this program. So it was terrific. So thank you. I appreciated the invitation. It was definitely something I'm going to look forward to every year. Yep, Mrs. Dunn?
I agree with the mayor. This was a wonderful program, and Dr. Vidal sent out a note thanking those of us who had attended, and I wanted to write back and say thank you for inviting us, because I honestly did not know what to expect. I thought it was going to be like a science fair with the poster board and a project. And it was nothing like that. This was so in-depth. The students did a presentation in, I would imagine, social studies classes, or in the 8th grade here. And they did PowerPoint presentations that were superb. They had done research. They had done polls of their classmates on the specific topic that they researched. They had data. They had quotes. It was excellent, and they really only had 10 minutes to do their presentation, and then take questions from the students. I was just truly impressed by how professional the students were. I don't know if anyone else was contacted by email, but the emails that I received were very, very professionally prepared, and the questions were wonderful. One question, actually, it was such a great question. I wrote back and said, "You took my breath away because I had not thought of this." And it was just an excellent project, and it was civics in action, because now the students understand what goes into the issues faced in the city. How do you change things? How do you work on these specific issues? Were there 11 or 12 different issues I think they chose from?
Yes, I think there were 12, and then 5 will be chosen to present later. And so they'll sort of move on and present outside of Peabody. So it was a really great project. I know Dr. Chase and Dr. Higgins were there today, along with Emily Moore. They did a wonderful job, and I really have to thank the high school teachers, Brian Pedersen, Michael Hawes, Brian Donovan. They did a wonderful job, and their students really represented Peabody High School very well.
They did, and just so everyone knows, the 8th grade is going to do a project that coordinates with that, a bit of a different level of research and preparation, but then when they become freshmen next year, they will be ready to do this project on a much higher level. And next year, you have to see it. And hopefully, if we can, I asked Dr. Vidala today if we could bring the 5 that get chosen to go to the state level, if we could have them come here and do the presentation for you. You'll be so proud of the students and so impressed with this project. So
Yeah,
thank
they did a
you.
great job. I know Mr. Barrett and Mr. Galuggi, I believe, were also there. I didn't want to miss anybody. But they did a really wonderful job.
They did. It was fun. It was a lot of fun, too, to
Yeah,
hear what they spoke about.
Absolutely. They were great, very compelling. So I love that they're working on the civic engagement. So our last item is an update on the summer programs. In addition to what's on this slide, we do have our summer foods program that we're expanding. We're going to be getting the word out. Additional locations in 5 days a week, so we're very excited about that. But we do have a number of summer programming opportunities for students and teachers, so I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Chase. Hopefully her microphone is working now, and she can share with us a little bit about the summer program that we have for students and staff.
So up on this slide, we see that there's summer programming for students that we're in the process of planning right now. So the first one is for K through 3 students, and that is in partnership with Springboard Literacy and DESE. So the way that that works is Springboard gets a grant from DESE, and they in turn become the hiring agent for our teachers, who then tutor students in foundational literacy practices. So it's open enrollment for all K through 3 students. The location will be at the Carroll School. Right now, we have over 140 families who have expressed interest, and we just sent out some recruiting materials to teachers to try to match teachers with students. So it's been a great partnership so far, great feedback from teachers and students alike, and hoping to expand that program. For grades 4 and 5, we'll have the traditional Title I in ELE programming. So that will be for students that are targeted for needing some extra help in literacy. They'll get a little dose of math with it as well. That location is also at Carroll School, so we'll keep the younger kids. We want to make sure that they're cool, and the students and teachers have some air conditioning and locating that at like a super site, we'll call it. At the grade 6 through 12 level, for district programming, there's a focus on level 1 students. So those are our students who are the newest learners of English, and so we'll have an ELE program for them. And then finally, some summer programming at the high school and middle school in a traditional format that each of those schools runs to support students. And then it's also learning time for teachers too. So before you head off to the beach, we wanted to provide some opportunities for some stipended professional learning time. This is all funded through grant money that we got throughout the year. So the first is targeting elementary teachers, looking at the science of reading and focusing on foundational skills. That's focused through a grant from DESE. The target audience is our teachers in the elementary grade levels, and the stipends would be provided through grants. There's also some evidence-based practices work. So with a focus, we're actually planning right now, but a focus on inclusive practices, K through 12, stipends provided through that evidence-based practice grant that Dr. Vidala just spoke about. And the final has to do with curriculum projects. So a lot of the work for next year happens over the summer, and we have set aside some stipends for teachers to work on curriculum projects throughout the summer. And that's it.
Thank you, Dr. Chase. If there are no other questions, that concludes the superintendent's report.
Thank you. Okay, next we'll go to public participation. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak? Come forward. I see no one here. Do we have anybody that would like to join us remotely?
Seeing none.
Okay, we do have 3 written communications. First is a communication from Bay State Textiles regarding a rebate increase. Number 2 is a communication from the NEC Board of Directors regarding the MOEC legislative priorities. And number 3, communication from the North Shore Education Consortium regarding the FY24 approved budget. Any questions or comments on those items, Mrs. Dunn? Any of those items?
I'll make a motion to receive, and then I'll come back with a question.
Okay, Mrs. Dunn made a motion to receive all three of those written communications
Yes.
today, seconded by Mrs. Carpenter. All in favor, that's a vote of approval. Thank you. Mrs. Dunn?
This is regarding the Bay State Textiles. They've been wonderful to work with, and I think it's great that they're doing the rebate increase. And we used to get a monthly report that would show how much the tonnage had been collected at each site, and then the amount of rebate. Could we please start getting those again? I don't know if the school department prepared those, or if they were given to us by Bay State. I think they must come from Bay State.
Okay, yes, we do receive them. We can share those, yep.
Okay, that would be great, because I think it's really helpful to see how much that generates for our PTOs, and it could be helpful to the students when they do another project on recycling, because it shows how much was taken out of the trash stream, and you could calculate how much money the taxpayers save by using this system. So,
It's a great idea, Mrs. Dunn. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions regarding the written communications this evening? Okay. Next, we'll go to subcommittee reports. Education, Mr. Amico?
Sure, thank you. Through the chair to the committee, I want to thank all the teachers for all they do. This week is Teacher Appreciation Week, and they do such great work. And I also wanted to recognize the students, especially the students that are graduating this year. They've just made their decisions on where they're going to school. I'm just going to give you a quick rundown. Marge, you don't have to write all this down, but they're going to great schools. Some of them are going to trade schools, job training programs. Others are going to work. Here's a list: Union College, Gordon College, LaSalle College, Syracuse University, Georgetown, Endicott College, Curry College, University of Maine, University of Hartford, Dean College, Northeastern, Merrimack, UMass Lowell, Boston University, Boston College, Worcester Polytech Institute, University of Tampa, Suffolk University, Eckerd College, North Shore Community College, Salem State University, Mass College of Pharmacy, Emmanuel, Wheaton, United States Air Force, University of North Carolina, Elon University, Plymouth State, Stonehill, UMass Amherst, UConn, Regis, RPI, Rensselaer Polytech Institute, Jacksonville University, University of South Carolina, Wentworth, Emerson, Western New England, Johnson & Wales, UMass Boston, Holy Cross, Bridgewater State University, United States Marines, Riviera College, Westfield State, University of New England, Adelphi University, Grand Valley State University, Hampshire College, and University of Tampa. We have some talented students, and we had some talented teachers and staff that helped them along the way, so congratulations to all.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Amico. That was great. I appreciated you doing that. I think we all did. That was great to hear. Okay. Finance Subcommittee, Mr. Olympio.
Nothing new to report.
Okay. School Safety Subcommittee.
Yes, we met prior to the budget meeting, and I just want to thank Chief Griffin for coming and answering some of our general questions about safety around the schools. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Olympio. Athletics and Wellness.
Thank
Mr.
you, Mr.
Hockman?
Mayor. Yeah, no report. There was no committee meeting, but I do want to announce that the Peabody Ed Foundation is having a fundraiser this Saturday at the Black Box Theater, a Run for the Roses, I think it is. And I believe the McCarthy School is still having their fundraiser. Is it this Friday? And is it in the new location or the same location? Same location, so it would be at the Holy Ghost over on Howley Street. Anyone interested in those events, please contact Dr. Vidala. He'll be interested. He'll be helpful in answering your questions and signing you up. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hockman. Quality and Standards, Mrs. Dunn.
nothing to report this evening.
Thank you. Parent and Student Advisory Boards, Mrs. Dunn.
Nothing to report this evening.
Okay. Building and Grounds.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We had an opportunity to meet this past a week ago Monday, and we had a meeting that we talked about some updates and some improvements that are taking place around the school district. We talked about some things that were already mentioned at this meeting, the HVAC work that's going to take place at the high school. Talked about the center school work that I believe Mr. Mayor is going before the city council for budget approval to get some work done so that we can get that underway this summer. To some tiles, removal, abatement of tiles, and I think there might be some asbestos within those tiles and things along those lines. a full cleanup of that first level. I don't think it'll have anything to do with the annex. It's the original building of the center school. So there'll be some deep cleaning that goes along with the tile removal and then I believe tile installation so that we can resume learning in the fall.
Thank you, Mr. Ackman. Special Education Parent Advisory Board, Mr. Olympio.
I'd like to schedule something in the coming weeks, but I am meeting with Ms. Crompton this Thursday to schedule next year's meetings for CPAB and CPAC. I believe we're going to start holding joint meetings, so we're going to map out a schedule for next year, so I'm looking forward to that.
Great, thank you. City Council and Legislative Delegation, Mrs. Carpenter.
Nothing to report.
Okay. Redistricting, nothing. Performing Arts, Mr. Swanson.
Thank you. Most of mine was given by Dr. Vidala. One correction. Stage 1, the Crucible is Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, so your extra show, those can make it. And the elementary school citywide art show is going to be opening tomorrow night at the Peabody Institute main branch. So get out and see what our kids do. Again, a lot going on at the end of the year.
Terrific. Thank you, Mr. Swanson. Items for new business for the next meeting will be handled in the regular course. We do have a budget meeting that we've scheduled for next Tuesday, May 16th at 6 p.m. here at the Higgins Library. And then our next regular school committee meeting will be the following Tuesday, May 23rd at 7 p.m. here at the Higgins Library. So thank you for a very productive meeting, and I hope everybody has a good evening. Motion to adjourn, all in favor? It's a vote.